So I think that having formal training in exercise physiology has made it so I think about everything in the sense of always thinking about how not only exercise is a tool for improving health, but also how it's a metric of our health and how we should be considering that as a holistic view. So it's it goes two ways, right? We exercise to become healthy, but our fitness status also is reflecting part of that health that we have. And so I'm always thinking about that through the lens of how we can improve to be better, and then how that forces our bodies to almost function better along the way. We want to move our bodies often and well and frequently, but we also want to feed and support them. They work a lot better if we're giving them not just the macronutrients and calories that we need to support our training and health, but also the micronutrients and the things that we need to, also improve our health and recovery. And in doing so, where we're prioritizing not just caloric balance, which everyone likes to obsess over, but making sure we're getting enough protein to support muscle recovery, or eating enough carbs to support the activities that we're doing. The more active you are, the more carbs and or protein you're probably gonna need. But then also making sure I'm prioritizing fruit, vegetable, fibers, and or more whole foods in nature, so I'm making sure I'm getting in those things that my body wants, alongside, the things that are super fun to eat, and that's great, but making sure that I am getting those main components of my diet that support my health and recovery. And then from a mental health perspective, I think that this is something that I haven't always been great with, especially being in grad school, but I think taking time for myself, being in nature, not being on apps and social media and screens all the time, as well as, taking time to set boundaries on where I spend my time and protecting myself so I'm not overextending all the time has been really important for me for my mental health. They're intricate and related to each other, but they're still other standalone areas. We need to make sure that, we can take care of our physical health, but then also, our mental health and well-being is a huge component of our health, and that also includes social well-being, time for yourself, protecting yourself along the way there, and or just, communicating your needs to the people around you so that you make sure that you're taking care of yourself too. So for one, when you're in college, everything feels so big when you're there. It feels so hard to do it. You're learning how to adult for the first time ever, and you're probably learning how to feed yourself and exercise on your own outside sport or gym class or your family for the first time ever. So it is super hard because it's new. And so I totally acknowledge that for college students. And so give yourself grace with that. But I also think this is a great time of life to start setting those habits. So don't shy away from it because things are crazy and busy, but figure out how to integrate those things into your life. So I usually am telling people all the time, do less than you think you can. Even if it seems like it's not enough or it's not perfect or it's not the perfect guideline or standard, do less. So if you wanna lift, don't go, I'm gonna lift 4 days a week. Start with 2 and try to get consistently in that 2. And being flexible with it doesn't always have to be Monday and Thursday. It can be flexible with your school schedule. Again, scheduling it in, preparing and planning. I think that, you're gonna have to figure out if you're the type of person who, if you don't do it in the morning, I won't do it at all, versus I'll be a nighttime gym rat, versus okay, every afternoon I have a gap from 2 to 4 and I'm gonna do that on these days of the week. And then maybe that's a Monday, Wednesday, Friday schedule. And Tuesday, Thursdays, I don't have time for that on those days, so I'm gonna do something different. I think having it where it is a little bit predictable, where the decision's made for you, makes it a lot easier, so you're not always having to rearrange, but giving yourself the grace and flexibility of knowing that you can kind of pivot and adjust. So I feel like with college, you have these waves of times that things get really stressful and build up for you. Learning how to duck under the wave rather than letting the wave crash on you. And during those time periods of life, saying, okay, I was doing 3 lifts a week, I'm gonna do 2 during midterms or finals. Or I was doing these formal group fitness classes, but I'm really busy, but I'm gonna take walk breaks still from my studying while I'm doing these things, and figuring out how you can pivot to adjust so that you can kind of keep being moving and being consistent, even if it's with less. If you're having a hard time getting it into your busy life, I encourage you to potentially make it a social activity. I think that a lot of college students, they think they're busy because they're so social. I mean, students are working jobs and going to class, but there's such a big social component to being in college too. And I think if you can find a way to overlap your socializing and your friends and do things with people, it adds that community aspect that's great for you. It can make it fun, which can make it more adherable and more enjoyable, which means that you'll stick with it more. So see if there's things that you could do, like do a group fitness class with your friends, or lift with your friends, or go for that run with your friends, or whatever that looks like. I think that makes it at least a lot easier for college students to do it. And then when it comes to nutrition, it doesn't need to be super high-end, fancy, whole foods, organic food for it to be healthy to you. Sometimes it does require being a little bit creative or cooking a little bit if you want to eat things, but you can afford a lot of things that are affordable, like chicken breast or rice, or like frozen veggies or canned veggies, or things that are pre-prepared or frozen or aren't as perishable are great for keeping around, so you're not getting the bag salad that's going bad in a few days, or getting things that you know you can eat on the go, like bananas or apples or grab-and-go fruit are super easy, or snacking those things. Think about really simple things that have some sort of a protein component, some sort of a carb component. Usually you'll have fat on or within those, and then some sort of fruit or veggie within it. And think of like really simple meals that are just plug and play of those things, and getting things that you can afford and you can fit into those things, I think is probably the best recommendation. Then if you are eating on campus in the food court, taking advantage of your access to those types of things with what's available in front of you. So I think it's really important to develop the skill of how to stay skeptical and analyze if people are truly giving you information and not accepting everything as true just because you saw it in a podcast clip or a viral reel, or it seems like it's plausible in nature, and not accepting everything as true the first time around, and staying both skeptical and curious, recognizing that not every expert or one person can be an expert in all things, and getting your information from multiple sources or multiple credible individuals, and not accepting any one person as being always correct all the time. That skill of going through social media and not just being like, oh, I saw this, so this must be true, or accepting that as is, and looking into it more, questioning it more, or seeing if that is truly the consensus of what we know in science or research to be true for our health. The willingness to actually think a little bit on social media and pursue more information, listen to some longer form pieces of content, not just 15-second takes on health, is also good advice if you really want good information or more depth takes on certain things, and finding your few key sources of people that you know are vetting out professionals for you before you're consuming that from them is too. So gain the skill of staying skeptical and curious, and don't take every 15-second podcast clip as gospel. I really don't like making absolute statements for people without explaining to them more why, but if we're gonna take like the hot take roundtable on this, like cycle syncing, not a thing, not evidence-based, not backed based in the way that they're marketing and selling that to you. You will not die and your hormones will not implode if you train hard or you train in your luteal phase, your menstrual phase, but you can take a break if you need it. Women need good resistance training and heavyweight training. It's not bad for you. It will not make you bulky. If anything, it will usually change your body composition in a way that is favorable by gaining muscle. That's a good thing. We want to have as much muscle as we can. We need to do formal cardiovascular training, resistance training, even for high reps, or even often walking, unless you're an individual with a lower fitness status at this point in time, is usually not enough. We want to get some intensity and rev that up. It doesn't have to be running, but it can be running. There's so many ways to do cardiovascular training that I think is important. We really should care about our cardiovascular training for long-term health, so focus on that now. Cold plunging is not good for recovery or muscle building, but if you'd like to do it, that's fine. Just space it out from your resistance training sessions or do it after cardio training. There's a lot of things that I see that really scare people. If you can, mute out most of the noise and focus on a few key behaviors that are fundamental and to health, and that's in getting in resistance training, getting in some cardiovascular training, having a social life, and sleeping well, and try not to get distracted by all those noise and those things that are confusing and making you think that you need to do a whole different thing every other day of the week, because half of them are probably not even necessary or true or beneficial, and the other parts might come later, but there's a lot of information that distracts you from actually making progress. So don't focus on majoring in the minors in a lot of these things, or a lot of them out there aren't going to be the big rocks that move your health fitness forward. They're just distractions. So it can be really easy to think, oh, that piece of flashy information is true, and that's gonna be the key for me. Or think, oh my God, I saw this post and that scared me out of exercise or doing something healthy. And if it's distracting you or scaring you, it's probably not either necessary in this period of time, or it's probably just not true.